morning. Happy Sunday. I am reading Mended. This is the sequel to the last book I read for Shorty September. I'm about a third of the way in. Thank you, audiobook. I started and just got a few pages in between Oliver's baseball games last night. And today is baseball games. Of course, I'll bring the book with me. We'll see if I actually read any. But it's like an hour drive, so maybe I'll have headphones on and do some more listening. And then the plan after the baseball games today is to go to this diner that we always pass on the way home when we come home from Massachusetts. Well, from New Hampshire. It's like right over the Massachusetts border into Connecticut. There's this diner called Traveler Books and Food or something like that. And we always pass it, but we're always traveling with the dogs, and so we're gonna stop there. Anyway, the thing about this diner is that you get a free book with every meal. It's a used bookstore diner combo. So that's gonna be our dinner plans. Since the baseball games are up in that general direction, after the games we'll just drive a half hour further. Okay, so this bookish diner and baseball, that's my Sunday plans, and I will bring you along. Well, I brought with me a mirror, Mended, or whatever the title is of that second Fractured Fables book. I'm not enjoying it as much as I enjoyed the first one. The angst tone is like even more amplified, and the character, like, I believe this is like 5 years after the end of the first book. She said 5 years have passed in which she's been traveling between realms to rescue fairy tale princesses. So she's older. Yeah, she's even angstier. I'm about a third of the way through it. I'm not enjoying it quite as much. So I also brought Hamnet with me, which Hamnet got really intense for me as a mother, reading the grief, the descriptions of the boy. I could picture my own son. So I've kind of taken a break. All right, here we are. As we were driving into the high school, I noticed. Are you ready? So it's beautiful and full, and we're gonna check it out now. And what's down here? We're gonna try this one out. I feel like I was just talking about the Thornbirds, and this was in that library, and so fate. I just want to brag here, mom brag. Oliver is playing on 2 teams, his age level, and then he is playing up. So this is a 15U game, and so he's playing with kids that are like 2 years, 3 years older than him, and so his confidence is getting there. Like he's a little nervous, but look at him, he's making contact and getting better every game.
Here we go. Beggars will exchange your pick even if it's not quite right. No. Inspiration, your favorite artists.
Yay! Hey, good job today.
It's at
Oh, I
the
see it, yeah.
Bang Bang Shrimp.
These shelves are way too close together. Hi, happy Monday. I'm going to try to finish this morning or this afternoon. I only have a little bit of this left. I am not flying through this one like I did the first one. I'm busier than when I read the first one. Saturday was a pretty easy day. Sunday we were just out a lot. I'm not liking it as much. It does a fun job, just like the first one, of like playing with fairy tale tropes and like calling out fairy tale tropes and discussing that. There, Neil Gaiman fan here, he has a Snow White story. There's a graphic novel version that's beautiful. And that take on Snow White is kind of represented here, kind of ish. I don't know if that's like original to him or if he himself is playing with some version of the fairy tale, but that similar dark horror Snow White version is recycled in this. Bless you. I got books yesterday. Didn't do much reading yesterday. Weird situation with the baseball game. They didn't have enough players, so they played down a player. So instead of playing a doubleheader, so 2 games back to back, they were just going to play one full 9-inning game with a player down, which already annoyed the umps that our team didn't have enough players. It's an issue. It's a thing. And then the relief pitcher that came in hurt his elbow. And so this is the good thing. The coach was like, okay, then we're done. You know, we're not going to put him into another position. He's still going to have to make a throw. And then we can't go down to 7 players in the field. So game's over. And I respect that decision. And like the health of the player is more important. But umpire was annoyed. So it ended up being a much shorter baseball day, and then we drove up to the Traveler restaurant and ate and did some book browsing. So I will show you what I got there. There wasn't a lot, right, Owen? There wasn't like a great selection of the books, but I managed to get some great books, like 3 books that like I've wanted, and then another one that I have seen good reviews for. So I'll show you that in a minute. So like I said, there wasn't a great selection. Basically at this restaurant diner, every customer can pick 3 free books, and then it's $1 for any book over that. And like at the restaurant level, all those books are included, and then downstairs they had that super claustrophobic bookstore that I filmed. So while the book selection was like, I think it depends on what kind of reader you are. I mean, everyone had like a little stack of 3 books by their plate, so you can find stuff, I'm sure. but the atmosphere was so charming. We don't go out to eat very often, so we were already splurging with the whole like appetizers and meals and desserts, so I didn't get merch. If we go there again, I might need a t-shirt. But so I managed to come out with 4 books. Like I said, everyone gets 3 free, and then it's $1 over that. But Nate didn't get any books, and like combined the kids got 3 books, so I got 4. Well, first of all, I already showed you this one. I grabbed this at a little free library by the high school where the game was. So Colleen McCullough, Australian author, historical fiction author. This is about, so it's called Morgan's Run. It says it was one of the greatest human experiments ever undertaken to populate an unknown continent with the criminals of English society. So I guess the establishment of Australia as a prison colony. So from our table, as we were eating, and I'm just scanning, right above Oliver's head, oops, I almost dropped it, I spot this, My Antonia by Willa Cather. Hi, didn't I just mention I would be looking out for this? Perfect, free, mine. Then, A Part of the Sky by Robert Peck. A different edition of this is already on my Shorty September TBR, but I think I had mentioned that I absolutely freaking hate the cover that I have. This is the cover I ordered off Thrift Books. It is not the cover I received, so I'm gonna swap it. I'll put my ugly version into a little free library. My little free library. It's right outside my house. Yeah, so this is about a young boy who has to struggle to maintain his family farm. I really loved the first book. It was like a less, meaning not at all, fantasy version of Charlotte's Web. When I read, not My Antonia, but Oh Pioneers, I got the same kind of like family farm survival struggle vibes. So, yeah, I'm excited. I'm happy. I'm really happy that I found that version there. Behold the Dreamers. It was an Oprah Book Club choice. I'm not one for celebrity book clubs, but if I were, it'd be Oprah's. So this is about Cameroonian immigrants in Harlem and the financial crisis and what it means for their family. And then The Master and Margarita. This is like a modern classic of Russian literature. In hot spring, the devil arrives in Moscow, accompanied by a retinue that includes a beautiful naked witch and an immense talking black cat with a fondness for chess and vodka. The visitors quickly wreak havoc in a city that refuses to believe in either God or Satan, but they also bring peace to 2 unhappy Muscovites. One is the Master, a writer pilloried for daring to write a novel about Christ and Pontius Pilate, and the other is Margarita, who loves the Master so deeply that she is willing, literally, to go to hell for him. Oh, I decided that this book is going to be for the unreliable narrator. Not so much unreliable, but she does kind of have her head in her own ass because she's kind of, you know, struggling with accepting her limitations, illness, fate, her own fairy tale ending. So I'm going to go ahead and count it as an unreliable narrator for the sake of Shorty September. That's all for now. All done with Amir Mended with the Fractured Fables series. It seems like an ending. Who knows if there will be a 3rd book, but it seems like a pretty solid ending. First book was better. Second book, very similar. It played more with redemption arcs And in this one, we cross out of the Sleeping Beauty tale and go into Snow White. This book feels very much like the show Once Upon a Time, with the narrative slippage, where the first book focused on narrative resonance, meaning like the same story elements told over and over and over and over, and it was like the ink eventually becomes so saturated it could bleed through the page, and that's how she's able, as if each page were like its own existence in the universe, that's how she was able to like go through into like the different stories in the Sleeping Beauty multiverse. So that was the narrative resonance, which just means like oversaturating with tropes and motifs. And then we have narrative slippage in the second book, which is she has done so much traveling, she's like upsetting the balance and she's not completing her own story. So it's like upsetting the existence of a world built on the premise of the fairy tales being real. So it's interesting. I like it. The tone of this one was a little more obnoxious than the first, but I like playing with fairy tales. I like playing with tropes. I like seeing elements blend and bounce off each other. Like I said, very, very much reminded me of Once Upon a Time, which I liked up until the Elsa season. I didn't like that season. But there's a season with the writer, and that's what came to mind a lot. Also, just the evil queen, Snow White, having her redemption story. So if you like that, you would like this book. If you don't, you wouldn't. I don't know what to say. Recommend, yes, if you like fairy tales, if you like playing with fairy tales, if you liked Once Upon a Time. Maybe if you liked Thursday Next but want something a little easier to read than Thursday Next. Yeah, I gotta get back into those. I'm on Something Rotten. That's the fourth book. And let's see, it reminded me of Thursday Next, Once Upon a Time. We've got Spider-Verse happening. Reminded me of Neil Gaiman's Snow White story. So fun times. Like, it's not prize-worthy literature, but it's fun times. So that marks off the unreliable narrator. I think that does work because I think she is unaware of the consequences of her own actions. So I think that makes her unreliable. I forgot to say goodbye. So goodbye. Have a great week, and I will see you soon.